Hi everybody, Russ and my Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. For new channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. Loads of great guests, got loads of cool stuff coming up. We've got a big charity event coming up on Thursday with the Battle of the YouTubers and with a live episode with possibly the last true winger we've had in Matty Etherington. I'm really looking forward to that. So make sure you tune in for that from 8 o'clock in the UK and get donating also the Just Giving page as well there. So it's raised loads of money. Also, we're doing stuff for Isla's Fight with Steve Krieger and the My Hammers 11 Prince. 25% of everything he sells goes to Isla. So make sure you check them out. Today's guest, relatively like me, a relatively YouTube virgin, really. He's only same as me, really. So I said YouTube virgin, Corey. Don't worry. He obviously runs the West Ham Way YouTube channel. Obviously, very successful podcast and match day events with X and Dave, who've both been on the channel. Both big friends of the channel, and we got Corey. So it's like the Holy Trinity. How you doing, man? How's things, Corey?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, nice little intro you got there. I felt quite relaxed not having to do it myself. So
that's what I mean. It's weird. When I interview people, particularly YouTubers, it's different because like you're on the other side of the screen because you're always on the left-hand side. Now you're on the right-hand side of the screen, and you don't have to worry about asking questions and being clever. Yeah, that's my job. But how are you finding it all? Because obviously it's relatively new, the West Ham Way channel. Are you enjoying it?
Mate, I absolutely love it. Like, it's one of them things where obviously X and Dave put something up and said, look, if anyone wants to do it, message us or whatever. And I sort of just did my little preview video. I think it was about Arnautovic or something like that.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, cool, like jump on board. But when we first did it, I thought it was going to be like 2 or 3 because a couple of us, like I said, we do it and they put it together. And obviously that history of that channel is they try and get people to do it. They do it for a bit and they go and it's sort of on and off type thing. I just stuck with it, done it for like a few videos. And then recently, obviously up the levels on it, try to get some equipment in, do some interviews. Obviously the one with Hammers United, loads of stuff, mate. Like, I actually love it, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. It takes over your life a bit though, I must say. I started it as a little side project because basically I'd had enough of watching in Australia's, Australia Married at First Sight or whatever my wife's been watching during lockdown. I'd had enough. And so I thought I'd start it. And it's become a bit of a beast, to be honest. And it does consume quite a lot of your life. But you're right. I'll do exactly the same thing. You buy a bit of really cheap equipment just so you look a little bit. And then you just, get a bit more as things come in and you just learn on the job, really, isn't it, to be honest, mate? It's like, and I mean, it's good in the fact that, we've got, West Ham still in the Premier League, so that's good. So you got more of a captive Premier League audience than maybe in the chat.
Yeah.
Exactly. And obviously we've got the stuff now. We've got the pre-seasons starting today, isn't it? We've got the 2 pre-seasons. We've got at the same time, we got Wickham and we got the Ipswich game at the same time, which is bizarre. I don't understand.
It's a weird one, mate, isn't it? Split the squad. It's a strange decision.
I mean, social distancing, is obviously important, but sending a whole squad, 50 miles away from the other team is a bit standard, a bit extreme rather. But it's a bit strange. I mean, obviously, there's obviously reason for it, but you think you would have given like a couple of days, and I don't know why it's not. But hey,
Well, this is the thing, mate. I think they're trying to obviously they're trying to condense it because the pre-season is one of these weird things now where you've got like 2-3 weeks before the season starts. Personally, though, we're talking about just football. It's how can you get a squad trying to play together? Obviously, we brought a few youngsters in like Coventry and Cullen has come back from Charlton. I don't think it's the best idea to split them up in their first sort of pre-season game and then later say, right, let's try and gel together. It's for football reasons a bit strange.
Unless the Wickham game is more like a West Ham 11, they call it, isn't it? Basically, it's full of under 23s. I've got a feeling it's going to be like that, to be honest. You may get 1 or 2 people who have, but I think it'll be the first, by all accounts, based on the fact that, West Ham are live streaming it as well. the Ipswich game rather than the Wickham game, to me that sounds like the West Ham game, the Ipswich game will be for the first team, and the Wickham game will be
So
more
annoying.
for the under-23s. But
we'll be watching Wickham today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, no. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. And yeah, I mean, it's great. You know, I mean, I think it's brilliant that that we have so much content now for West Ham fans on YouTube, because there's some great established channels, and there's newer ones like your channel, my channel, who are, and even sort of people diversifying, like Irons United's are diversifying their content and stuff, and it's great because it just means that even in the off season, people are still producing West Ham content, and people have still got that sense of community, that sense of belonging to a club. And I'm all for it. I think it's great, man. And I think it's long overdue that people are doing this type of stuff, because it just gives, and everyone has their own niche. Don't know, they have their own niche. They got their own bit. They got the Hammers Chat guys, and you got the West Ham Fan TV. And even your, I mean, not so much your chat at the moment, but those two, they're sort of the more topical. And Irons United, they do the topical stuff. I just do nostalgia. That's all I do. That's my niche. That's why people like it, because it doesn't matter how shit the team are performing now, they can think back to a bygone era when we won the FA Cup or the Intertoto Cup or whatever like that. So that's why people like mine, I think, which is good. And I'm more than happy to carry on doing that. So the first question I always ask Corey when I get people on, he says, not too bad, 6 minutes in, 6.5 minutes in of what, boffling. I usually about 20 minutes. So I'm getting better. Is why is West Ham your club, Corey? What's your origin story if you're a Marvel comic? Why West Ham?
Well, I'll sort of give a bit of background. So when I was at school, particularly where I live, it's a lot of Arsenal or Tottenham or West Ham. So it was between those three teams. And I was kind of like, I wasn't massively into football at that time. I started playing, but I just didn't nail down a team. But my granddad's like, sort of grew up in, in East Ham and all this kind of stuff. And it was his club, and he was badgering me. He was like, you're a West Ham fan. You're a West Ham fan. I was like, oh, all right. And I think at the time I think we were in a championship, and we obviously watched a couple of games. And literally, I think it was a championship final. And I was like, for some reason, something clicked in my head where I was like, right, I'm a West Ham fan. And Bobby Zamora obviously scored that win. I went absolutely mental. And because at the time as well, when you're a kid, Premier League's the one. And obviously West Ham going up was a massive thing. But really and truthfully, I think you sort of go, I support West Ham, but I hadn't even been to the stadium. I hadn't been to Upton Park. And obviously that's such a huge part of our history. But I remember going around in the car, turning the corner, and to see Upton Park from the side, I was like, I made the right decision 100%. I could just tell it was one of them. It's like the affinity thing, and you go there and it's like, it's just a perfect club for me, mate. It's just like you've got that sense of family and tradition and heritage and being proud of the club. And I just think it's not all about, listen, I'd love West Ham to win a Premier League or a trophy, but it's more about, being part of that kind of gives me that affinity.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. It's true. It is like, we're not in it for the football. I know, and I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, and we came to the conclusion that I don't think I'd ever want to win the Premier League, he says, through gritted teeth, in that, because what it would take for West Ham to win the Premier League, it would be, people criticise, we're not West Ham anymore and that type of stuff, but to get to that upper echelons of the Premier League, you would need to basically restructure the whole club from beginning to bottom, and put an influx of players and money, and and it would sort of remove the West Hamness of us. For us, West Ham is 13th, 14th at the moment. I'd take that. Even 12th would be nice. But we have 3 or 4 games a season we turn up for. The Man Uniteds, the Chelseas, Tottenhams, Arsenals. Out of those sort of 4 or 5 clubs, we'll win 3. We'll beat them 3 times across those sort of 10 games, and that's our season. And to be honest, and then we know we're going to lose to Burnley the next week. We know we're going to do it, but it's part of being a West Ham fan. It's not like it's any different than it has been for the last, since I've supported West Ham, really, since the early 90s. We've been no different. Yeah, we have a bit of, we had 99 when we got 5th, and that was great, but and FA Cup in final in 06. But we appreciate those more because they don't come around very often. If you're a Liverpool or Man City, for example, you get to another League Cup final, you get blasé about it. But us to get to a League Cup final next year would be the best thing ever, and we'd. And I think it's one of those things where it's not about success for us. It's just about having sort of that sort of, and thing is about sort of peaks, and you don't know when you're going up until you come down. So you're riding high. We might have drawn 3 games, might have not lost for 3 matches or 4 matches, and we're all riding high, but we're waiting for that dip. We know it's going to come. And it's going to be a Burnley, or it's going to be a Leeds or a West Brom. But that's why you go every game that's why you watch every game, because it could be a Burnley, or it could be a Bradford City in a 5-4 thriller. That's what I love about West Ham. It's so unpredictable. We could go up or win the league, and neither would surprise me. Go down rather win the league. Nothing would surprise me with West Ham. That's why I love them. I think that's why I love West Ham. Same as you.
The thing is as well, mate. Like there is obviously being kind of a relatively young fan. I still, when I first started supporting West Ham, I think it was like the first year we got to that FA Cup final. So for me, I've kind of learnt the hard way that's not the way we work. So I appreciate it more now. Even like the things like the playoff finals. I know it's only a playoff. And you beat Blackpool, but for me that's one of the best days of my life as a fan, or just in general, because it was that atmosphere and like all of us coming together, and it's not just about like the peaks and troughs. I watched the highlight of West Ham Tottenham the other day from 2005-06 or whatever, and I was thinking, these players are really putting a shift in. You don't see this anymore. Like all of them, every Bobby Zamora, Harewood, Sheringham when he come on, you just don't see. That's kind of what I love about West Ham. When they've got the bit between their teeth and they're all fighting for it. We saw it last game at the Bowling. They want that win, and that's what makes it special.
Yeah, and that's why I know there's a lot of people in the anti-Moyes brigade and stuff like that. That's why I'm really pro Moyes, because just they all and it's happened twice at West Ham. He's come in and done the job twice at West Ham. He had to keep us up. He's done it twice, but it just seems and we know through Everton, and everyone talks about Everton, but his players put a shift in. You know what I mean? And I just think he might not be the most glamorous manager in the world, but I don't think a glamorous manager works well at West Ham. Pellegrini didn't work at West Ham because he went in with a top 6, top 4 club mentality, and we're not a top 4 club. We are basically need a team of grafters. We need a team of Burnleys to perform. We're not going to win the league and stuff like that. With Moyes, I just think he's got a bit of grit about him. He's a bit more working class. He's not afraid to wear a tracksuit on the pitch side. And that's what I like. I like a manager who can just mix it up a bit, wear a tracksuit. You know what I mean? It's like, when you're playing, Guardiola, you're not going to be, Pellegrini was always done up at the posh, for the games. But I just think, I've been criticised, for my optimism and stuff, but I don't really give a shit, to be honest. I think, I do think we're going to do all right this season. I really do. And all right will probably mean 11th or 12th, but I'll take that, to be honest. The last couple of seasons have been too squeaky bum for my liking. And I just think we've got more workman-like attitudes. I think the signings are more West Ham signings, the Součeks, the Bowens, these types of hungry young players who inevitably we will be probably selling and making a profit off. But compare that to the last 3 or 4 years, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. We spend top dollar and we haven't really got the return on it. So even something like Antonio, we bought him for 7 million. We could sell him for 15, 20 million, I would say, at the moment. No problem. And that's how we need to go. And I'm really excited with Stuart Pearce back in the thing as well, the coaching. I just think he gives another. I just want players to be scared of the coaching and scared of the management. When they come in half time, they know they've underperformed. They know they got fucking Kevin Nolan, Moisey. They've got Stuart Pearce, Alan Irvine. They're all nasty buggers, and just to scare them into sort of putting a shift in, as you said. But we'll see. we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, mate. Like, I think with sort of getting that coaching staff right, I think when Moyes first come in, first month or two, he didn't have the staff that he wanted, and then obviously he's sort of brought in, you know, Psycho now, Nevin, Nolan. I think Nolan's probably a massive addition. It's probably one of them people that maybe we overlook in terms of his like managerial ability, albeit he's got some. But I think he understands. He's been captain for West Ham. You know, he's played with people like Noble. So you can't overlook those types of relationships, I think, particularly going into next season.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. And I think, and you always see the effect as well of Nolan, definitely, in things like corners. And, you know,
I mean, man standing on the keeper.
And that was what Kevin Nolan did.
Yeah, he did.
He literally stood on the...
I tried it in Sunday League. I remember watching Nolan at West Ham thinking, I'll stand on a keeper like Nolan. They'll hate it. I hated it every time, every single time.
But what they've done is they've given that role to Antonio, who has a lower centre of gravity. He's about a foot smaller than all the goalkeepers. And he's just like a muscle. And he's really hard to push off. So it's really good. You know, and we never really scored many goals, but occasionally from corners. But we're always a threat now at corners. You know, with Souček and you know, doing long throws again. And so, it's about sort of grinding some games out now. You know what I mean? Sort of just mixing up a little bit because we can. And we'll see what happens. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Anyway, he says when he digresses, as always. So that's half the fun of this. So we do this Hammers 11. And so, actually, Corey, when he comes, speaking out football now, are you a crowd noise off or a crowd noise on person?
Oh, mate, I'm crowd noise on. I know people find it weird, but I can't watch football without a crowd. Like, there's something really dodgy about it. I watched the Bundesliga game. I think is when they first come back with Dortmund, and like it's so weird because you can just hear the sound of the ball. Like you can hear them shouting. Like it doesn't add to the game. But if you watch like boxing or whatever, I think it's better because when there's no crowd noise, then you can actually hear everything. So it depends on the sport, but football's got to have noise for me. Yeah,
because they had the UFC, weren't it? And you heard the commentator talking about it, and it was almost like the fighter had heard what the commentator was saying.
Yeah,
then took it into the next round and beat the man. I know what you mean. I'm a crowd noise on. Even when I'm at the ground, I put the crowd noise on the telly just because it feels really weird because it's so quiet there, and you can just hear all you can hear is journalists typing. It's really weird. Really strange.
Yeah, no, it's weird because I watched that Champions League final the other night, and I forgot there was no crowd there. Like, it sounds really odd, but like just the way I think they've done it well enough to replicate a bit of a game, but you'll never get it the way it is with fans sometimes because it was interesting. Like they were saying on the commentary for Bayern PSG, those last 10-20 minutes when they could hear the coaching staff really sort of gear up and say, you've got to put it in. All of a sudden, players were like putting tackles in, and that you could tell that they could hear something. And obviously, players feed off the crowd. So, I think football misses that at the moment, though.
Yeah, it does. But it's very clear, because I assumed it was a bloke in a studio pressing buttons, but it's not. I spoke to a guy called Travis. We interviewed a guy called Travis Newton, who works for Sky, and it's all done with AI and Opta. So it's like, obviously, we know it's the FIFA crowd noises, but it's based on algorithms. It's not some bloke in a thing pressing a button. You know what I mean? It's and so the only thing it couldn't work out was when a team's really dominating possession, and then there's a breakaway own goal for some reason. They couldn't figure out the nuances in football. But I thought it was funny. I mean, I'm a crowd noise on, and I thought it was funny. I always talk about the Norwich game when Norwich were 3-0 down at half time, and they got booed off the pitch by the robots. They booed them off, and I thought, "Fucking hell,
that's funny, wasn't it?"
If C3PO is booing you off, no, it's not. It's all based on, and you start with FIFA. If you're losing at FIFA at half time, the crowd will boo you off. It's the same thing, and so you're doomed when C3PO and R2D2 boos you off the park. But it's all good, man. Right, anyway, let's go into the 11. So as I said, the Hammers 11. It's the whole point of the show. It's the idea is to pick your 11. So the whole idea is the only sort of rule we put on is you must have been alive to have seen them play.
Right.
Just so we don't all put Bobby Moore in and Brook in and Peters and Hurst. which I never saw any of them. So why should I put them in? It's not why should I put them, but I have a different bunch of people. And it doesn't have to be the best. It could be your fan favourites. It could be the grafters. You talk about grafters. It could be grafters 11. It could be youngsters 11. It could be olders. It's all that type of thing. So it's up to you what you want to do with it, man. It really, really is. Do you have a theme, or is it just normal? We're just gonna do like your best players. What you gonna do, man?
I don't know, mate. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I've done a little draft of players that made their debut at West Ham. So players that the West Ham is their first club.
I like it. Yeah.
It's quite easy to do. There were some areas where I was a bit like, but I think just for the video and obviously for entertainment, it's probably go down quite well.
Sure. Yeah, cool. Because we had my best mate actually. He did the people who made their debut for the club, aged 30 or older, sort of the golden old Dad's Army Brigade, which was quite funny.
That's interesting.
Yes, that was quite good, and it was really easy in some positions. Goalkeeper was really easy because practically every goalkeeper we've signed has been at least 30. and obviously our current goalkeeper, for example, is 36 or 35, 36. Defenders were all right because they tend to be old, Stuart Pearce, Nigel Winterburn, stuff like that. Strikers, Teddy Sheringham, Ian Wright, people like that. Midfield was where it was tricky because you don't tend to buy a 35. I mean, we did all right. I think he did all right. Rob Lee and people like that, but not like youngsters really. But okay, so the young uns 11. Okay, I like this. All right, who's going to be in goal for this team then, Corey?
Right, so I've gone with Stephen Bywater. So we all remember
Stephen Bywater.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this one is it was too young for me for him to have been around as he was when he was in like 2004-05. But when West Ham put their YouTube video, I think it was the Bradford game, he come on for Shaka Hislop and Shaka got injured. So it's interesting to see, like, you had Shaka and Stephen Bywater as keepers then, and then fast forward to 2004-05, they were still around. So for me, Stephen, because he also would have been one of the first keepers that I would have seen at West Ham or been in a West Ham. I think he played in the playoff final. So that's got to be a choice for me.
He did, because the one with Jimmy Walker, because Jimmy Walker got injured, didn't he? And he came on for the last 15, 20 minutes, something like that. So because we all shit ourselves because he hadn't played all season, and Jimmy had been so good, and he came typical West Ham. And I remember because Jimmy got booked as well on the stretcher, which I thought was bizarre. But Stephen Bywater, he was in Tony Carr's 11 because he picked basically sort of graduates from the academy, and we haven't had like loads of goalkeepers, and he was the only goalkeeper who came through the academy. And he also appeared in Graham Howlett from Nees Mother Brown did a lockdown 11, so an 11 of people who have been in trouble with the law, let's say, and Stephen was, and you should Google why he was in trouble with the law. I think it involved a takeaway driver, a machete, or one of those, a samurai sword, and him in his dressing gown. So
sounds like a West Ham player.
Typical West Ham player, exactly. So that's why he fitted in. God bless him. All right, Stephen, old Bywater's in. Go for the team as you got it down, man. It's up to you.
Right, we'll go right back. It's not the one that I think most people will expect, but I've got to base it really on a lot of the players that I've seen. So I don't remember actually seeing Glenn Johnson at right back. Otherwise, he would have been there. But I know he's got in a bit of trouble for the way he left, but I've gone Ngakia.
Yeah.
So in my time, so if everyone takes this from us, in my time, Ngakia is that right back that come through and looked really sort of at ease in the first team. It's kind of surprised me,
Yes.
When I think we put him in against either Manchester City or Liverpool.
I think it's Liverpool,
Yeah. And he didn't look out of place at all. And going forward, he was exciting. And I think particularly in, the fullback's position, we're looking for someone with a bit of energy. And I just think he gave us that bit of energy from the get-go. And I thought as well, sometimes you see these players come through and then they falter after 2 or 3 games. But even when he got to the Southampton game, he was still at a relatively similar level. So only right back I can think that I've seen that's come through in my time. I can't really think of too many others, to be honest, unless you can figure any.
No, not really. Not really, to be fair. It's probably two. There's Ngakia and someone else, so you might talk about him at left back, so that's why I won't say it. But yeah, it is a shame. Yeah, it's a shame because I think it would have been nice to have if he'd stayed, because I just think the role of a right back's changed now. We can we're like the golden, when we did the Golden Oldies 11. My mate Stuart Pearce, there was Nigel Winterburn. You could get away with a 36, 37-year-old defender, really, not really an attack, because fullbacks then didn't really attack much. Now they need to be attackers. They need to be almost auxiliary wingers, really, and that's why Zabaleta was never going to pull up any trees, because his legs were past it, and he got shown off. He's a great player, but just gets shown up for pace now, isn't it? The game's so quick now.
But that was such a shame with Zabaleta, because, like, don't get me wrong, a model professional. Like, I really liked him at West Ham. Like, I thought he was like a perfect kind of older statesman to guide the squad. But if only he was in his prime, because going forward for City, he was unbelievable. Like, he was it was the biggest part of his game was getting forward, wasn't it? And
true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, absolutely, totally. And it was a shame. But I mean, he gave us a good couple of years in the old Zabs, and left the club in good. Was very complimentary about the club and stuff as well. So fair play to him. Right, and Ngakia. Okay, you carry on, Corey. You carry on as you go.
I'll go centre backs. So in no particular left or right position, I'm going to go for Anton Ferdinand. So first and foremost, he would have been the first sort of centre back I would have seen at West Ham. That season in particular, where they brought in Danny Gabardon, James Collins. It was that kind of era. But obviously, Anton come through the academy, and coming as a relatively new West Ham fan from that perspective, I only really knew him from his brother. Obviously, Rio was huge. But he gave us so many good memories. I thought he was a really good defender. He had a bit of pace about him. That goal against, I think it was Fulham, was unbelievable. Had me out of the seat. So, I mean, I really liked him. It's a shame that he didn't kind of maintain that level, or he could have stayed at West Ham a little bit longer. But I guess it is what it is. It's football.
Yeah. Lovely bloke. We've had him on the channel. Honestly, salt of the earth. We spoke before about how people just chat on these things, and we must have chatted for half an hour before. I think we had about an hour, which is very rare for a player to carry on chatting for an hour, and then about half an hour afterwards, just about West Ham and about his career. And you're right, it's a shame, because he was a good player, and he never really. I was actually talking to a guy yesterday about this, and he never sort of pushed on. He then went to Sunderland, and that was almost like, well, that was a nothing move really for him. And it was a shame, because he was a really good player, and he speaks very, very candidly to me, which I didn't even want to talk about his brother, and having the pressures of having Rio as your brother, going into the same club, playing the same position, and he was really open about it, how he struggled with it, because you would do, of course you would do, because it's just like got the same fucking surname, you look the same, you play in the same position for the same club, and people, and also the people who are training you from a young age have trained your brother as well, because West Ham that time, everyone was sort of still in the same job for 15, 20 years. So, but he's a good player. And you're right, when we had Gabardon and Collins, they didn't out Anton from the team. It was Anton plus one of them, wasn't it? Always. It was like, so it just shows you, he would buy a couple of players in, but it was still good enough to play, to be sort of first choice. All right, Anton's in. Who's next, man?
Oh, it's going to be James Tomkins, of course. So James Tomkins would have been a little bit more relevant for me, but listen, I just don't think we should have let him go. Like, at the time, it was 10 million for a player that was a bit touch and go with the first team. But I think, you talk about players that can play in both positions. He could play right back, he could play centre back. He was solid. The season when we went down, and he formed that sort of partnership with Winston Reid, albeit it was a championship, but them two were a joy to watch. They were quality.
Yeah, no, he was a good player, and he was loved. In fact, we interviewed Jack Collison, and he was talking about his debut with Tomkins, and it was Arsenal away, and they were in the lift, and Curbishley, I think it was Curbs, he was in the lift with them, and they were just like going up to the top, and he turned around as he walked out, because he was just going to like the second floor, and they were going to the third floor. He turned around and says, pretty much saying, "Oh, you got your boots today, guys. You're going to be in the team. Going to be in the squad," and then walked out, and the doors closed, and both of them, in like some sort of American teen comedy, were like, they were both going like absolutely mental. It was so nice to hear. But hindsight's a great thing. I mean, as soon as we sold Tomkins, I think we had like 2 or 3 defenders got injured, didn't they? As always, it happens with West Ham, and it was a shame, because I think he hasn't really dug up any trees at Palace really, and I think he would have continued to be a good player for West Ham, and particularly that season. I mean, even last season, when we had, when we were always chopping and changing. Bonner was injured, and then Balbuena was injured, and there was no consistency in the centre backs. And if Tomkins, he would have gotten another extended run there, and arguably forced himself into. I mean, he's still a good player. I'd still love him back at West Ham. I think.
Do you know what, mate? I would take him. I would take him back. I don't think he's over the hill just yet. So
no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, defenders traditionally peak later in life, and he's probably entering his peak now. He's sort of like 30s, early 30s, or something like that. So, all right, Tomkins is in. JT is in. Who's next, man?
It's got to be Ben Johnson. Now, I'm genuinely excited about. Now, obviously, he's naturally a right back, so this is a little bit stingy with the positions, but he can play left back. We've seen from him as well. Like, what impresses me is we saw it with Declan when he came through for the first few games. His composure doesn't look phased at all by that level. Good at getting forward defensively. I think he's a joy to watch. He pocketed Rashford again at Old Trafford. And he didn't look to trouble him at all. So, I'm excited to see him, and hopefully he stays with us for quite a few years. Yeah.
And you can see why they were less reluctant to maybe give Ngakia the money he wanted. In that, I mean, it was always. I mean, I've heard from from the last couple of years that Ben Johnson was the one that they thought was going to break into the first team, and because of injury, it's a bit later than maybe he planned to be. But and that's a shame, because it would have been nice. We said Johnson obviously played left back in the last game, weren't it? And you always thought him and Ngakia as fullbacks would have been really exciting, but wasn't to be. We move on, and hopefully Johnson will get an extended, sort of at the right back position. Or if worse comes to worse, you can put Fredericks in right back if we don't sign anyone, and he can play left back, or vice versa. But I always like a defender playing on their right side of their. If he's right-footed, playing right back. If he's left-footed, playing left back. Just because although he might be very clever and can do both feet, you naturally go towards one side, don't you? So. I'm excited. I think, and he's a big lad as well. He's quite big.
Yeah.
And so he can hold his own. That's for sure. All right, Ben Johnson. Okay, let's go into midfield. Who we got in midfield there, man?
It's gonna be Declan Rice, isn't it? Like, the thing is, like, I just whack lyrical about this bloke all the time, because he's so. I don't think in my time, obviously. If you're a bit older, you would have seen the sort of Lampards, Joe Coles, and I wish I was there to see them come through. But for me, Declan is just levels. He's getting better and better. He's intelligent. You see him move from the centre back to the holding midfield. Like, near the end of the season, he's starting to become a little bit more box to box, add goals to his game. There's a reason why he's potentially worth 80 million, because he's got that intelligence. And when football players have got intelligence, the ability to improve is there. You see with Bayern Munich, you've got Kimmich at right back, can play centre, a holding midfielder. I think Rice is in that similar mould where he can just play multiple positions, because he's just a bit more switched on than everyone.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I know it astounds me that people are seeing, Dec's long-term career as being like a centre back, because I just think you're right. I mean, that position, you can go. I mean, you obviously watch a lot of European football and stuff. You can go and buy a decent centre back anywhere. You can go and buy Koulibaly for 29 million or whatever, or Ake for 40 million. Centre backs you can pick decent ones up, quite easily. The role Declan Rice plays in football is so unusual, to have someone that domineering, whether he wants to play defensive or move more box to box, that you can't pick up players like that anymore. Like there's not so many of those type of players around, and so. I know Lampard has his vision eventually of him playing, being John Terry Mark II, but he ain't. He's not. He's a defensive. He's a box-to-box midfielder. That's it. He'll be wasted at centre back, maybe towards the end of his career. A bit like what they did with Billy Bonds. Billy Bonds, by all accounts, was a right back, and then they put him into central, sort of centre mid as sort of defensive holding player, and then towards the end of his career, he went into centre back as he was getting older. That's how it should be. But don't force the poor boy into playing centre back now, because you'd lose not only with West Ham or hopefully West Ham, touchwood, but not only or the club he plays for, but England in general would lose this tremendous player, absolutely tremendous player.
But this is the thing, mate. It's like, with someone like Declan for England, I think people say he's overrated because obviously we hype him up quite a bit. But for England in that system, right? His ability to pick up, loose balls, intercept, protect the back four. When you've got like Sancho bombing on and Rashford and the likes of Sterling, you need a player like that who's able to sort of protect the back four, but transition. He's the guy for me.
It's because it's not a glamorous position, and I think that's why he doesn't play for a glamorous club, and he doesn't play in a very glamorous position, and so people think he's over. People outside of West Ham think he's overrated, and I think that's ridiculous. And it's players like that who you need exactly what you're saying. You need players like that in a team to work. You can have as many attacking players in the world, but if you haven't got that cover for defence, you are going to have to score 3 because you've conceded 2. And I just think with Dec, he's just. And I don't think he's leaving us this summer. He says touchwood, partly because I think the only place he'd probably go to openly would be Chelsea, but then I think Chelsea didn't want him when he was 14. You know what I mean? It's like we wanted him and he came to us, and particularly Chelsea. I mean, if they get Thiago Silva, that's probably next season centre back sorted.
Yeah,
summer after that could be an issue, but and hopefully by then he'll be captain of West Ham. We'll give him a new contract. And we've built the team around him, and he'll be a massive fish in a small pond. Go to Chelsea, he's just one of a whole bunch of similar. Look what they did to fucking Barkley and Mason Mount. They're just nothing now. They're not like household names. Where
the thing is as well, they've got like, was it Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Kante? They all play a really similar position. So unless they move on, I can't see Chelsea trying to put him in that role.
The only team that worries me is City, because I just think they haven't had a replacement for Fernandinho. They've tried with Rodri, and he doesn't really cut it. I mean, he's a good player, but I just think, But then again, then the other side is, he's he's a British player, so therefore he's going to command probably double the fee than if they went to Spain and picked up, a similar type of player. There's the guy at Atletico. Who's brilliant. I think he could do a job actually. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. As of the time of recording, he's still. He doesn't sound like exactly, but he doesn't sound like he wants to leave. Do you know what I mean? He just when you hear his interviews, and he's not fucking about, because he's not like putting on a front, because he's clearly like a little boy, and he still talks like a little boy, excited about playing football. He took so much passion about West Ham, even when he got his Ham of the Year award, which I thought was a massive, coup to get him to win get the Ham of the Year award. But he knows his worth, so he ain't going to like throw his toys out of the pram if Chelsea offer Batshuayi, Barkley and 20 million, and we turn it down. He's not going to go and do a Payet, is he, or an Arnautovic? He's going to carry on going.
If he leaves, he won't do the whole sulking business. I don't think.
No,
hopefully
exactly. Not. Right, who's next, man? Who's next?
Mr. Mark Noble, of course, Mr. West Ham himself. Listen, as a kid as well, supporting West Ham. And I played centre midfield. Mark Noble was a bit of an idol. You sort of like just see his penalties and because the thing is with Mark, right? 2 things. I think one, he doesn't get enough credit for his actual technical ability. Like I think when you've seen him in past seasons, when he plays a bit further forward, he can score a great goal. He's got a bit of composure about him. He's a good player. And that's something that gets lost. But I think with him, he sacrifices himself a lot for the team. Like sort of peak of his career, look at the runs he put in, the defensive work. He was just relentless. And it's like, as a fan, to see another fan do that, why he's like so well loved.
That's exactly the truth. That's what I mean. You know, and I think it's critical because he's a fan that you know he's in the same, and particularly more so you, because he plays in your position. It's almost like, and you're a West Ham fan, and he's a West Ham fan, playing in your position, captain of your club, 500 games, 502 now, whatever, and it just means so much more when your captain is a fan, because that's one thing that, as you said, you said, you know, people don't put a shift in, and you know, people like that, but Mark Noble, you know, would put a shift in because it's his club. You know, it's not just professional, it's personal as well, and that's why I quite like what they're doing at West Ham in terms of bringing in West Ham ex-players into the coaching staff, because you need to impart that into the players. It's like, what it's meant. It's a different club than, I mean, everyone probably assumes, Tottenham fans probably say the same about Tottenham and Arsenal, but West Ham seems to have a different club, and you need to understand what it means to be a West Ham player. So people think it, you know, so you do put a shift in every week. You might not be the best player, but you put that shift in, and people can't say you don't try. If you're not technically as good, there's nothing you can do about that. You have a good player, you're not a good player, but if the effort's there, they can't criticize the effort. And I think that's why people feel like Carlton Cole and stuff like that. You know, not the best player in the world, but you always put a shift in. Always put a shift in for us.
But this is the thing, mate. If you look at it, like, there are certain players for certain clubs that tend to just play better for those clubs. Like, and you see me with Anton and James, where they go to different clubs, it's not the same. They don't seem to be at the same level. And I think when you've got players like that, you know, Tomkins, Noble, Ferdinand, they understand the club. And that extra 10% of knowing when to put a tackle in, knowing when to put a little bit more in those last 5, makes you the player that you are. And that's why like they're so well loved even now, because they weren't the best, but I just think for what they give for the club, you can't overlook it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. All right, Mr. West Ham, Mr. Modern Day West Ham. Who is next?
I've gone for Jack Collison. You mentioned him a little bit. Listen, things with Jack Collison, I think he's massively underrated. I get obviously he had a few injuries and things like that, and he never really showed his full potential. But he was a good player. Like he was good at taking the ball forward. His passing range was quality. He was athletic as well. He could get forward. It's such a shame we never saw him play as much as we would have liked. And I think the best sort of compliment to him is that shift he put in. I think it might have been in the playoff semi-final.
Yes.
And sort of leading up to where he scored those goals. Yeah. And he was struggling even then with injury. So for him to put that in for those last sort of few games to get us back to the Premier League, that's why I'll always go down as a little bit of a hero for me. Good player.
Lovely bloke. We've had him on the channel as well. He's great man. Great man. Lovely guy. Absolutely oozes West Ham out of every orifice. And you know, I think he'll always be a West Ham fan. He'll always be highly regarded by the fans, you know, obviously because, you know, famously, I mean, he played like 2 days after his dad died, you know what I mean? He'd get Millwall. And that, I mean, we spoke about that as well. And, you know, he's like, I was going to play, always going to play, just because I knew what West Ham meant to my dad and what Millwall meant to him. And, you know, and so I just think he's a lovely bloke. And I just hope that, you know, obviously he's stuff in America. He's at the moment in Atlanta, sweating his bollocks off over there by looks of him. But hopefully it means he comes home. And I think he wants to come home. You know, it was quite obvious he wants to come back.
Come on, Jack. Come on.
And he will. And I think he will do eventually. And maybe as number 2 to Mark Noble, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine? Ginger the backroom staff as well.
Yeah, Ginger defensive coach. Or maybe Scott Parker, manager. You know, who knows?
Scotty P would have been one that I would, if it wasn't for a female, he would have been my Amers 11. Just what a player. Absolute player.
Yeah, he's proper. But so we'll see. But I know Jack's, you know, and he's a good coach and he's a good man. Right, who's next?
Right, so to note, I've gone for a 4-3-3. I don't think I've got enough midfielders to play around with, but we'll have to put a few square pegs in round holes. I've gone for, on the right-hand side, Zavon Hines. Because when Zavon come through, he was an exciting player. Like, obviously, you hear for me, I hear a lot about youth players coming through, and obviously that means a lot to the club. But Zavon was kind of the one that I've been watching West Ham for 3-4 years, and he come through the academy, and he obviously scored in his debut, and he had a really good game against Liverpool, I remember as well. And it's the thing with Zavon is, you watch him play and you watch those highlights, and part of me thinks, how did you not play more games for West Ham? Because you had something. He used to come off the wing, which is why I put him there. Could play central, had pace, get him behind, good shot on him. He had a bit of everything for those attacking positions.
Yeah, totally. He's a lovely bloke, and again, another guy who's in the West Ham, sort of in the coaching setup, isn't he, at the moment? And you're right, he's one of those guys who, he scored against Millwall. Funny, you scored against Millwall and you're in. You're in forever. And so, and he scored that game, that game that Jack played in with his dad when his dad had just died. And yeah, lovely guy. We interviewed him soon, so it'd be good. I'll have a good chat with him soon. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, great shout. And he just seems like a nice bloke as well. Follow him on Insta and stuff like that. And it just seems like a really, really nice family guy. And you're right. It's some of these players, you don't realise how many more games they should have played. It might have been because the club had gone and bought, I don't know, Guillermo Franco or someone, he's past it, but it's just the nature of football. But it's sad when you see someone so talented who didn't really sort of crack it as much as he should have done. But all right, Zavon's in. Who's next?
Going to go left side now of the three. Junior Stanislas.
Oh,
so
nice.
Junior is one of those ones, right, that we should never have let go. And I remember getting relegated, and I think he went to Bournemouth in that season where he went down. And I was like, is there any reason why we've sort of got rid of him? Because you watch his clips as well, and then you go on to see what he's done at Bournemouth. Geezer can play football, do you know what I mean? He's got great delivery, free kicks, pace. It was a bit of what West Ham fans like, someone that's going to get you excited to watch. And for me, where I live now at home, around the corner they used to do reserve games. So I used to see like your Zavon Hines, your Stanislas' play, and it's quality players, and it's same with Zavon, isn't it? Shame he just didn't stay. I think particularly we got relegated, he would have been perfect for that championship and coming back up.
Yeah, totally. And it was always just glimpses, was it? I think he had like a little bit of an extended run in the first team. Basically, Kent Irons will always comment on my videos, and he'll tell me when it was. So he'll put it in the comments right now because he's just like, he's just like encyclopedia. He beat me at the Claret and Blue Army TV quiz. I came second, he came first. Anyway, and there was an extended run, and I remember he had an extended run in the team. And you're right, it's one of those players, and we do it too often, don't we? We sell these players when someone like at the moment, it's like Nathan Holland. You know what I mean? It's like he's gonna move on soon, and even like think like Josh Cullen. You know what I mean? I mean, Josh has been. He's sort of mid-20s now, isn't he? Sort of early to mid-20s. So
nearly
24. So he has, you got to think there's got to be a break point for him sometime soon as well. But it was a shame. And every time he comes back, you see him on the, I'd love them to pick him up for, Bournemouth must be trying to get rid of some of their players as well, So it'd be lovely for him to come home, but. Anyhow, we'll see. Right, Junior is in last position.
It's got to be the man on his debut against Blackburn, Freddie Sears.
Yes.
So Freddie was like, obviously there was a lot of excitement about him because he did come on and score his debut. But I've still got it etched in my mind that Dean Ashton set and that Freddie Sears finish. I mean, he was another one of those where he thought he was just going to sort of take on and improve and get a little bit more consistency within the team. But to be honest, mate, I mean, a lot of, the front three we've spoken about all came in around the era, and they never really, apart from maybe Stanislas, had an extended run of games. And I don't know, I think it was just the club at the time and what we did with him. But for me, Freddie, I think, as an academy product, maybe we should have given him more time to I don't know, show himself in the league a bit.
Yeah, you're right, and it's interesting because obviously we talk about the golden era. We talk about the Lampards and the Carricks and Joe Coles and people like that. But it's one of those things where we had like this was almost like you think about it. You're right, Stanislas, Hines, Sears. They were coming through at the same time roughly, and if only we'd done with them arguably what we did with the Carricks and Lampards, they could have had an extended career at West Ham. You know what I mean? And it could have been not as I wouldn't say we'll put them in the same bracket at all as Carrick and Cole,
No,
but you don't know. You don't know unless you play them. You know what I mean? It's like they show glimpses, and they might have been as good, but they would have definitely helped us out, particularly when we're looking for consistent strikers and forwards and pace and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a shame. It was a shame of them three, but. No, it's fun. That's good, man. I like that. That was fun.
But
that was a nice 11. Go on, Karen,
the thing is with those players that you say, like they weren't as good as the golden generation. Like the best example I can think of teams like that is like Southampton. So obviously they had like Oxlade-Chamberlain, Bale, Theo Walcott. No one's saying Ward-Prowse is on the same level, but he does a job, doesn't he? And that's kind of what I would look for those players to have done. So I think, even going forward with your Ben Johnsons, even if he doesn't become the player maybe we think he'll be, keep him in. Because you'll get better, and I just think they need time.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, it's good, man. No, that's nice. I like that, Corey. Nice theme. It's nice. It's been great chatting to you, man. As I said, look, 50 minutes. It's just flown by without even thinking about it.
Pleasure, mate.
And thank you to everyone for watching or listening. If you're watching it on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. If you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple podcasty thing, then subscribe, and obviously subscribe to Corey, the West Ham Way YouTube channel, and obviously you do X and Dave's West Ham Way podcast as well. Make sure they're all subscribed. And until next time, from me and Corey, take care, stay safe, everyone. Come on, you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.